The story of the English Revised Version doesn't begin with a royal decree or a grand proclamation, but rather with a small group of dedicated churchmen influenced and backed by Jesuitism, quietly gathering in the heart of Victorian England. These were men of faith and learning, united not by power, but by a shared sense of purpose and responsibility to counter the work of the Reformation. They weren't revolutionaries or iconoclasts, but careful scholars who deeply cherished the King James Bible. They revered its language and legacy, yet believed that there were in this translation limitations and flaws. Imperfections, they believed, had become more apparent as time passed and felt that changes were necessary. Over the centuries, new manuscripts had come to light, offering fresh insights into the original texts which questioned the Textus Receptus. Meanwhile, the English language itself had evolved, leaving some passages of the beloved King James Version of what they thought was unclear, ambiguous, or even misleading to contemporary readers. These men felt a deep, misplaced, sacred compulsion to offer a Bible that was not only beautiful, but also as accurate and faithful to these newer Alexandrian manuscripts as it was possible. At the center of this effort stood four remarkable figures. First, Charles John Ellicott, the meticulous Bishop of Gloucester and Bristol, whose attention to detail and scholarship set the tone for the entire project. Then there was Joseph Barber Lightfoot, a renowned Cambridge scholar whose expertise in early Christian writings and languages was unmatched. William Fidian Moulton, a master of Greek grammar from the Methodist tradition, brought a rigorous academic approach and a passion for precision. And Samuel Wilberforce, the influential Bishop of Winchester, who began as a skeptic but soon became a driving force, lending his authority and vision to the cause. Their collaboration was unprecedented, signaling a broad ecumenical effort that crossed denominational lines and united Anglicans, Methodists, and other traditions in a common goal. They were seeking to modernize the Bible not for fashion's sake or to chase trends, but to restore fidelity to the newer manuscripts, ensuring that the English Bible reflected the most updated manuscripts in understanding of Scripture available. Sadly, this work was not sanctioned by heaven, but by the Catholic Counter-Reformation. The King James Bible was more than a book. It was a national treasure, woven into the fabric of English identity. To suggest changes was almost like proposing to alter the landscape itself, a daunting and controversial task. Yet, these men falsely believed that the English-speaking world deserved a Bible as true as possible to the words of the prophets and apostles, a translation that would stand the test of time and serve future generations rather than the King James Bible. Launching the revision was daunting. The task ahead was not just about language, but about challenging centuries of tradition and belief. Every word, every phrase carried the weight of history. The Church of England, deeply conservative and protective of its heritage, viewed any change to the authorized version with suspicion and even fear. For many, the King James Bible was more than a book. It was a symbol of unity and faith. Ellicott and his allies needed the convocation of Canterbury's approval to proceed, but the government, wary of igniting religious controversy, refused to get involved, leaving the church to wrestle with the issue alone. Within the church, many saw the King James Bible as perfect, its language sacred and untouchable. Generations had grown up with its words echoing through cathedrals and chapels. Any revision was seen as arrogance, even sacrilege. The idea of altering the familiar verses stirred deep emotions and fierce resistance among both clergy and laity. Ellicott's strategy was to propose a careful, respectful revision, not a replacement, an update for study and preaching, not a new translation. He emphasized continuity, not disruption. He promised changes only where they saw where the King James was clearly inaccurate or obscure, reassuring doubters that the heart of the text would remain. This moderate approach, built on dialogue and compromise, slowly built support among hesitant church leaders and scholars alike. The battle for the Bible's future had begun, fought with patience, careful argument, and a deep respect for tradition, not with confrontation, but with hope for a more accurate and accessible scripture, however misplaced this was. The breakthrough came with Samuel Wilberforce, Bishop of Winchester. Initially a staunch traditionalist, Wilberforce's support was crucial. In a pivotal 1870 convocation meeting, Ellicott presented his motion for revision. Debate was fierce. Many feared unsettling the faith of millions. Wilberforce surprised everyone by endorsing the project. He recognized the scholarly strength behind it and argued the church should lead the process to ensure reverence and accuracy. His support swayed the bishops, framing the revision as a fulfillment of the original translator's commitment to accuracy, not a break with tradition. With Wilberforce's backing, the motion passed. The church officially launched the revision, turning a quiet dream into a sanctioned project. With approval secured, the committee set strict rules for revision. Their mandate: introduce as few changes as possible, only correcting clear errors. The familiar language and rhythm of the King James Bible were to be preserved. No change could be made without a two-thirds majority, ensuring broad consensus. When changes were necessary, the new wording had to match the style of the original, avoiding jarring modernisms. These rules balanced tradition with scholarship, allowing diverse experts to work together and ensuring the revision would be respectful, not radical. Next came assembling the scholars. Two companies were formed, one for the Old Testament, one for the New. Ellicott chaired the New Testament group, while Connop Thirlwall led the Old Testament. The New Testament company included giants like Lightfoot, Westcott, and Hort. Leaders in textual criticism, spiritualism was making its inroads into the Bible. The Old Testament company gathered top Hebraists like William Wright and Robert Payne Smith. Their task: correct mistranslations and clarify misunderstood passages while preserving the Bible's majesty. Crucially, scholars from outside the Church of England, including Methodists and Free Church members, were invited. This ecumenical approach ensured the revision would serve all English-speaking Protestants, not just Anglicans. Within the New Testament company, Dr. William Fiddian Moulton's expertise in Greek grammar was unmatched. He championed the use of the newest Greek manuscripts like Codex Sinaiticus and Vaticanus over the traditional Textus Receptus. This was controversial. Many conservatives saw it as a threat to tradition, but Moulton, Westcott, and Hort's arguments prevailed. The committee chose sadly to base the revision on the most ancient evidence, prioritizing accuracy over tradition. This decision made the English Revised Version a landmark of modern biblical scholarship. The Reviser's vision extended far beyond the borders of Britain, reaching across the Atlantic to embrace a wider world. They recognized that the English Bible was not just a British treasure but a global one, and sought to include voices from other lands. To achieve this, they invited distinguished American scholars to join the project, forming parallel Old and New Testament companies under the respected leadership of Dr. Philip Schaff. This marked a new era of scholarly partnership. British and American teams exchanged countless drafts and detailed notes, working through letters and manuscripts. While the British committee retained the final authority, they gave serious consideration to the thoughtful input and suggestions from their American colleagues. This transatlantic collaboration was a slow and sometimes contentious process. Communication took weeks and debates arose. Americans often pushed for more changes and a more modern, accessible language, while the British tended to be more conservative. Many American suggestions were not included in the main text, but were published as a special appendix. These ideas would later play a crucial role in shaping the American Standard Version, influencing future translations. Despite the challenges and differences, the partnership ultimately proved to be a remarkable success. It set a powerful precedent for international cooperation in the field of Bible translation, showing what could be achieved when nations worked together. When the Revised New Testament finally appeared in 1881, it carried the combined authority and wisdom of the best minds from both sides of the Atlantic. This historic achievement helped shape the English Bible for generations to come, leaving a lasting legacy.